Hi, and welcome to my Power BI session where I will show you how you take a self-service model and transform it into an enterprise Power BI solution. My name is Just, and I'm an independent BI consultant from Denmark. The agenda will start going up and have a look at an introduction where we will go through how you deliver Power BI in an organization. Microsoft had created a really good model around this, and we'll take a look at the three different concepts here: self-service, enterprise, and the model in the middle. And of course, talking about this, we also have to discuss business versus IT. So like I told in the start, so who should actually do which part of a solution when it's self-service solution and when it's an enterprise solution, and then how can we transfer the ownership of the different components in an entire Power BI solution. When we have these concepts in place, we can then go through the different steps that we will have to do to make the right transfer. So first off, you have to fix the datasets, and that is a very common mistake when you're taking a self-service model from business users. They don't really know about dataset data modeling. So first off, fix the dataset. Then we will go through and see how can we actually do the ownership transfer. Before then going through how can we authorize or author the dataset in a more professional way. Then going to certifying the datasets. So actually, how can we show the users now that this dataset is an enterprise dataset? And then also, how can we show the consumers that this report and apps is based on a certified dataset, so they now can trust the solution. So this is the agenda, and hopefully this is what you also expected from this session. Yeah, we have 45 minutes, so just let's get started. Delivering of Power BI, all around self-service versus enterprise BI. And no, it's not easy to make Power BI in an organization. And finding the right balance between this is really, really difficult. So you have agility on the one hand and then control on the other hand. But that is also the beauty of Power BI, because you can actually have in an organization some models or solution that is self-service, some that's IT, and we can also do this ownership transfer. So taking a business self-service solution and making it to an enterprise solution. But yeah, it is not hard to find this level. Yeah, and Power BI development, IT versus business. When we are talking around building a Power BI solution, we have these different phases you have to go through. On the one hand, we will have the data sources that is part of a BI solution. It could be a CSV file, Excel file, web page, or a database, or it could be a combined of a lot of different data sources. And on the other hand, then we have the execution of the reports. And in the middle here, first off, data mashup is all around reshaping, taking this data in and modeling it so that we can then put some more value on the data, defining calculations as part of the data modeling, categorizing data, formatting the data, and then of course creating the nice visualization that is also part of a Power BI solution, going out, distributing the report, and then of course executing the report. And in this here, who should do what, IT and business wise? So you could say, okay, IT is just governing, having control of the data sources, and then the business users is doing the rest. Yeah, this is self-service BI. But as I mentioned before, the beauty of Power BI is that you can actually self determine where should this bar be. So we can set it between each of these phases. So therefore, going through this transfer of ownership from a self-service solution to an enterprise solution where the IT has more control and governing of the solution. Yeah, and Microsoft created these 3 different approaches around delivering Power BI in an organization. We have, of course, the business-led self-service approach. This is also the approach I tend to call the prototype approach, and Power BI Desktop is a really powerful prototype tool, because you can very quickly mash up some data and deliver some reports and get some insights. So in this scenario, the ownership is at the business, and only government is maybe the data sources from IT, also known as the bottom-up approach. Then we have, on the other hand, the enterprise BI approach. That's the top-down approach, and this is where IT is handling everything, except, of course, executing the reports. And then we have in the middle, and that's actually my favorite approach. That's the IT managed self-service BI approach, also known as the blended approach. And here we are having the business users also creating the reports, but the data model, the data sources, the data mashup is governed and controlled by IT. And this is where I see most value when creating a Power BI solution. Yeah, and of course, in an organization, you can have a mix of all these solutions. So you can have maybe 5% might be this very important financial report that's created as an enterprise BI with that approach. And then you have some business-led self-service BI or prototype, where you start up, and then when it's getting popular, then you want to do this transfer. Then you want to actually go from a self-service BI solution to an IT managed self-service BI. And that's what we will cover in this session, how we make this beautiful ownership transfer, this arrow you have in the bottom. It is only, we can only do this because Power BI Desktop can actually handle both of all 3 of these different approaches in one tool. And this is very beautiful. And other BI vendors have different tools for these different approaches, but here with Power BI we just have one tool and can make this ownership transfer. So yeah, taking it a step back again, we saw that the business-led self-service BI is IT only governing the data sources and the power to the business users for all the rest of the process. Then we have the IT managed self-service, where we are setting the bar in the middle and having data mashup, data modeling also controlled by IT, but still power to. And this is, as I said before, my favorite approach, because in a lot of cases the business has just more insights in what are the report that is needed by other business users. So this is my favorite approach, but you can also make the enterprise BI approach, where it's only the execution of the report that is in the hand of the business users. And then IT is also creating the reports and distributing the reports. So just to recap these 3 different approaches. Yeah, and then to the 5 different steps that we can go through from taking a solution from self-service to an IT managed or enterprise BI solution. And it is around star schema, all the things. And this is actually the unfortunately thing you see if you are from the IT and is handed over a self-service solution, because now the business users don't want to have the ownership of the solution, and they hand over the data set and say, okay, IT, here, take it. But if the data model is a really mess, it is really difficult. So first thing you need to do is learn your business users to the concept around star schema. So it's around denormalization, and then also putting all one table for an entire business entity. So for instance, if you have a product dimension or have a product information around products, put it in one dimension product, not in 3 or 5 different tables. All should be put in this business entity. It's like customers, product, reseller, sales. And then you also separate the facts and dimension. And dimension, this is what describes the facts. So this was the customer, product, reseller, etc. And then we have the fact. That's something that happens. So in this example, we have the sales orders. That's the facts. But it could also be financial posts or something like that. And the pros, if you learn your business users, this is that it is very, very easy to understand. It's very, very fast, and also the DAX code you have to write will be very, very simple. So please, please learn your business users this, so that you, when you get handed over a data set, it is in this shape or close to this shape, because then it will make your life much easier in doing the ownership transfer. And let's have a look at an example of a model I was handed over once. Here you see a model created by a business users, where the business users just took the source session and imported the tables directly. This means that we have many-to-many relationships. Many relationships you should really try to avoid. And then we also have, as you can see here, not a consistent one-to-many relations, because in the concept around dimensional modeling, we have in the dimensions, for instance, the customer dimension, you will only have one record for each customer. So there you will have the one, and then in your fact tables, there you will have the many. If you're handed over a model like this, it is very, very difficult to transform it to a star schema with facts and dimension. So learning users that first is really, really important. Yeah, so actually in this step 1, I didn't show you a magic way to transform it into a star schema, and of course not, you cannot do that. So this is all around learning, doing it the right first, or the right way at first. Next up is then, when you have this beautiful or close to beautiful star schema, you can do the actual transfer of the ownership. And this is around splitting the Power BI desktop files. So here we have this example where we have one Power BI desktop file where we have all the different parts in one file. So we have the queries, we have the relationships, we have the reports, we have the calculations. This is actually, when you just start Power BI desktop, the way it works. So all in one file, and this is the self-service way. And this is actually a drawing from this official white paper from Microsoft. So one file for the mashup, the data model, and the report creating. But what we want to do is going through this scenario where we have the data mashup and data modeling in one file, and then the report in another file, because then we can split the line and say, okay, IT should take the ownership of the data mashup and data modeling, and then the business users should still have the ownership of the report. So yeah, how do we actually do this? And to do this, let's see some magic. We will take, in this demo, I will take a combined report and data set, and then go out and split it. So going from an imported data set that we saw before, and then going through this one where we have split it in one file with the model, and then another file with the desktop. And one other beauty of this solution is that you can now then connect multiple different reports on top of the same model. And this is taken from the white paper. In our case, it will be Power BI desktop on top of Power BI desktop. Yeah. So how do we do this solution? yeah, I cannot do it with this report, so closing this one and then another one. So here we have one combined model and in a report and model, and here you can see actually that this is already in this beautiful star schema where we have the fact in the middle with the sales order lines, and then we have the dimensions around. And also take a look, we don't have any many-to-many relationships, and we have this one-to-many from the dimensions into the fact. That is how we like it. But this file both have the data, as you can see here, we have the data, and we also have the report. So how do we split this? So the first step is taking this and creating a data set. So I will start with creating a data set. So taking this one, and now I will just call this DS sales. So now this should be my dataset file. So what do you think I should do here to make it a dataset file? I should remove the reports. Yeah. So removing the reports is actually pretty easy. It's just around deleting the different pages. Or you could also go in just and hide them. But we don't want to confuse the users, so we will delete them. But oh, I cannot delete the last one because you have to have one page in here in a dataset. That's just a limitation. So I will just call this information, and then I'll delete the file here, or the visualization, and then I'll just put in a text box here and say this is just a data model, and maybe make it a slightly bigger one. So now I have a dataset file. Now I'll go in and then publish this one. So publishing, say okay, let's save it. I have pre-created a workspace called SQL Bits. I'll just go down and find this one and publish this one. So now we have made a dataset file and publish it onto the Power BI service. Now I can go in and open up the report file. So this is the file we started with that had both the dataset and the report. So now we want to have this only as a report. So what do you think now we should do to this file? We should delete something. Yeah. We should delete the dataset. Yeah, so we only have the report in this file. So how do we delete the dataset? Yeah, it's actually pretty simple. You go in here and delete the file, the tables. So you can right click here at one at a time and just say delete. And what you will see is that the visualizations will be, we will break the visualization. So I can go delete them one by one. If I have a lot of tables, I could go in the model view here, because in the model view I can actually multi-select. So here you can see I select all of them, the tables that are in place here, and then I delete them. Delete from model. So now we don't have any tables in here, and therefore we don't have any visualization, because the visualization are bound on the table. But now what we can do is redirect this one to the other file we created before that we published and we call DS sales. Before we do that, I just want to show you one little thing, and this is over here where you can see that we have 3 icons here. This is actually one of the ways to see that this is a self-service file, or a file that contains both a data model and a report. So just keep that in mind, because now we want to go in and connect this one to another one. So I can now go in and say, oh, go in and connect this one to another dataset, clicking on this Power BI dataset button up here. I have multiple ones called DS sales, so I'll just find the right one. That's the one in the button here in the SQL bits workspace. So now let's see. Oh, magic happened! Now you can see that in the field list is back. It is working. It is connected to the other data set. What we can also see is, and this was what I wanted to show you before, that now, sorry, we only have 2 icons over here. We don't have the data tab, the middle one. This is what shows us that now we are in what we call live connected mode. So we have live connected. This file don't contain any data. I can go in and save this file, and I can also go in and publish this file. So publishing it to the same dataset or the same workspace, and actually one beauty of this is I could also publish it to another workspace. So having a report workspace and a dataset workspace, that could be an advantage in some situation where I want to have some security, and my business users don't want have the ability to see the dataset but only the reports. In this case, I'm just publishing it to the same workspace. And if we go and look at the demo files here, we can actually see now the one here is only 14 kilobytes because it's only containing the reports, where we have the other one here. It's also containing the data, but not the report, because we remove the report pages. So we have split it in 2 different files. So this was the magic. We saw, I demonstrated to you how you can split the report and the dataset, and then now hand over the DS sales files to the IT, and then the business users can keep the sales file, and thereby we have actually transfers the ownership. This is a really powerful feature of Power BI Desktop. I have seen that this was the simple way of doing it in my opinion, but you can do it in other ways. I've seen people having PowerShell scripts doing this kind of split of a file, and then having the connection again. So yeah. So now we can actually go and take it one step further if we want. We can go and then also split the data modeling from the data mashup if we use the feature of the Power BI data flow. Having the data mashup as Power BI data flows, and this is just to show you that we have this possibility. I won't do a demo on it, but you can do kind of same way with the data modeling, and then replacing the built-in M queries, Power Query, and then redirecting him to a Power BI data flow that is then controlled by some other people. So you can actually have it split up. So some people controlling data mashup in Power BI data flows, some people controlling data modeling, and some people, business people, controlling report creation. Yeah. So next up, authoring the datasets, because now as we have split it, then we could still use Power BI Desktop as our modeling tool, but there are better ways. So I will suggest you going over and using a tool called Tabular Editor, or you could also use SQL Server data tools, because this is the tools, or this is tools that is built to BI developers. This is pro tools. And then you could also, of course, put up all your data mashup as part of your data warehouse. That is a way I will recommend for you. So, as I said, Power BI Desktop might not be the best tool, because you want to have more productivity, and you can have that in other tools than Power BI Desktop. And also some features lacking in Power BI Desktop that is really important in a pro development, and it is version control, and also the ability to handle deployment easily. So you can take Tabular Editor and take over your data model. And with Tabular model, you can use XMLA endpoint. That's a relatively new concept around, for Power BI at least. It's been around for a lot of years for SQL Server analysis services, but it is a way of working with the data model in Power BI that's now opened up. It was closed down before. And this is actually taking the transfer ownership to a completely new level. It is unfortunately requiring premium capacity. It was introduced 1.5 years ago, or nearly 2 years ago, by Microsoft, where they told us that they want to convince enterprise BI and self-service BI users in one tool. So what they want to do is saying, okay, we want to use Power BI datasets or Power BI data models for all users, for all use cases, with the use of Power BI Premium, so we can actually just deploy our enterprise models and our self-service models in the same way in Power BI, backed up with Power BI Premium, unfortunately. So for years we had analysis services where we could connect different tools to not just Power BI, but also Excel, reporting services, Tableau, all different kind of end user tools, report tools. And then on the other hand, we also had some productivity tools where we created the models. So Management Studio, we had Profiler, SQL Server data tools, of course also Tabular editors nowadays. And the vision from Microsoft is that we should be able to do that also with Power BI, opening up to other client tools, and also opening up so we can use the tools we know and love from analysis services, working with our data models in Power BI. Let's see a demo with Tabular editors where I take it and take a Power BI model to the next level. So here I have started up Tabular Editor. It's a free tool, free to use tool. This is version 2. Be aware that there's currently in the making a version 3, so this UI might change in a newer version. But in here, Tabular Editor is a tool created only for maintaining and developing Power BI models, or tabular models, that is also a Power BI model. Yeah. So in here, in File, I can go in and then open up an existing one, and I can go in from database, and then in here I can say, oh, take a local instance. And if I have Power BI Desktop running in here and this machine, and as you can see here, I have DS sales, then I can actually open up this Power BI data model. So opening up here, I can go in, look at the relationships, the tables, and in the tables, I can go in and look at the measures, defining them in a much nicer way than I can do in Power BI Desktop. And I have a whole lot of productivity stuff in here. I can multi-select. I have a lot of options, right-clicking, creating new. I can run scripts in here. This is just a wonderful tool when working with data models. If you don't work with Tabular Editor now, then you're really missing out. So opening up the Power BI desktop file from the Power BI desktop that is running locally, I can actually now go and take this and then go in and then save it. Save it as what we call a .bim file. So taking it and converting it from Power BI, grabbing out the data model from the Power BI desktop file, and then taking and saving it as a .bim file, that is this BISM model behind the tabular models. I can also go in and say save to folder, and then also in here I can actually go in and use this tool to deploy the model, and then skipping the deployment or making my own deployment process with this tool. And also, when saving this as a BIM file, I can put it under version control much easier than I can with a Power BI desktop file. So let's have a look at going in and then deploying this model. And in here, as you can see, I can deploy it up to Power BI. Let's go to the Power BI service first. Having a look here, I have my workspace. This is backed up with Premium, that is one of the requirements, using the XML endpoint that I will use now. And in here I can go to the settings tab, the Premium tab, and then I can get the server URL actually. This is where I want to deploy the model, and then actually go in and replace this data set that is already deployed here. So, and here you can see it's already put in, but this is the workspace name, and the rest of URL is just standard. Going next, I have to log in here, of course, also, and then now I can either choose replace the dataset, or I could make a new dataset, so calling it DS Sales 2, just to show you that I can do both. Deploying the model, maybe the roles, maybe the role members. I have a lot of more options here than I have in Power BI Desktop. And then saying, deploy this model. And now I've taken it next step. So taking it from Power BI Desktop, putting it in Tabular Editor, and then deploying it on to the service. And as you can see here, I have now deployed the DS Sales 2 with Tabular Editor. And now, as an IT, I'm totally free of Power BI Desktop. So now we come to this place where the report is in Power BI Desktop, the data model is in Tabular Editor, and hopefully also then you will have your data coming from a data warehouse and not directly from different files. So where the data mashup is done one central place. But if maybe not all your data is coming from data warehouse, that's also fine. But now you also have the flexibility and the possibility to over time replace the queries in your tabular model with proper dimensional tables from your data warehouse. So yeah, pro development using data warehouse and Tabular Editor. Hopefully you got it now. Then next step, how can we show the users that this model that we now created is actually certified? So this is now the single version of the truth, or the golden data set, that is also kind of called. One way you can do is to deploy the dataset in a separate workspace. Maybe you have a workspace called certified dataset or IT managed datasets, and then put it there. That's one way, so people can see, oh, they're coming from this workspace, then we know that we can trust this data. But you can also go in and take it a step further, because you can go in and use a feature called shared and certified dataset. This is around where you can go in and actually certify the dataset, so showing the users that this has a higher level of stability of truth. This is the single version of the truth, or the golden data set. So how do we do this? Actually, we have to first off go in the admin portal. So you need to be an admin user or know one that is an admin user. Go in and change a setting where you enable the certification possibility, and then also saying, oh, who should be able to certify datasets? Because if you are saying, oh, all can certify datasets, then you haven't come that much way. So it should, of course, only be certain users that could certify. So you can in here define specific user security groups that have this ability, and then afterwards you can then, if you have is part of one of these security groups that you have defined here, then you can go in and certify it or promote it. And let me show you how that can be done. So in here I have this DSL2. I go in and then look at the settings on this, and then endorsement all the way in the bottom. And here you can see, because I have the right privileges, I can go in and say, oh, this is a certified dataset. And I can also make a description, so making more clear to people who have built it and what is part of it, this dataset, so they trust it some more. And when I click apply, now this dataset is certified. And going in to my sales report one more time, now this is the report pointing to DS sales. Now I can point it to DS sales 2, just to show you. Going in here and changing the data source here, I can see now at topmost here, DS sales 2 is certified, and it's coming from this workspace called SQL Bits 2020. And in here I've also put in an example where you can see a workspace called IT Managed Datasets, and it's certified. Then you're really showing your users that this is an enterprise model, so to say, that they can trust and build additional reports on top of. And of course, if in this scenario, that's also what I call shared dataset, because now you can separate the datasets from the report, and the report can then be published to multiple other workspaces, and then separating, so the users with access to these workspaces only can see and manage the reports and not the datasets, with setting up different security on the workspace for the datasets and the workspaces for the reports. So yeah, I'll just switch it around, and now it is switched, and now it is pointing to the other datasets, and now it's blank because when I publish it with the Tabular Editor, it is not automatically publishing the data, because in Tabular Editor you're only holding the metadata. So for me to get data in here, I should go up and refresh this dataset. So getting more new data in it, and of course setting up a gateway connections and so on. So this was around certifying the datasets. The last part is around, okay, how can we then certify the reports and apps? Because unfortunately, when you are creating a report on top of a dataset, there's no way to show your users that this report is actually based on a dataset that is certified. So you need to show it in another way, and there are some different options for this. One way is to use apps workspaces when you publish it, because when you use an app workspace, it is really a recommended practice to use app workspace and not publish into your private or my workspace. And app workspaces you can then publish as an app where you can give people access, and with this approach you get much more control of your distribution of your content, because now you have your workspaces and your apps at separate entities. So it actually means that you can now update your report in the workspace without affecting the end users using the apps before they are properly tested and you have confidence in the look and feel of the report. And then also with the apps, you get an app navigation experience, as it's called, where you can put up a logo for your app. So just to show you this simple app deployment process, you have in at least the Microsoft way of seeing it is that you have Power BI Desktop, then you have your app workspace, that's development, and your app as production. I like to see it as I have Power BI Desktop as my development, and then I have my app workspace, and now we only keep looking at reports here. That is my test environment, because now I can develop in Power BI Desktop, I can put it in an app workspace, then I can give access to co-workers that should also create reports and dashboards, and also people should test it and verify the data and the layout before I put it into production. So please use apps when you develop and deploy your reports to your viewers or consumers. So let's have a look at how can we then certify your apps, and it's pretty simple, because as now I will have my and let's just say okay, in this case I both have report and data sets, and as I said before, you should separate it in different workspaces, but just to make it simple, here go in and create an app, because when you create an app you get the possibility to put in another logo for this app, so it's clear for people to see that this is a certified app, because many people can build apps in an organization. So let's have a look at here I have just two different icons or images that I can put, and now just to be very clear, I have found an image saying certified. So now when I put this on, but of course you could also have some maybe a finance logo and then have a star in the corner, just to show people, oh, all the apps that have this star, that is certified apps coming from a certified department or data sets. Yeah, description in here. Then also as part of this, you can set up a support site where people can find additional help, also to show people that this content from this app is something that is certified, coming from a valid data set. And also the last thing you can do is put in a contact information for the BI department, IT department, or so like that, also to build in confidence in people using this, that they can trust this app. So just go in and publish it. It can take some minutes, and now just close this one and go to the apps for my organization, get apps here, and then you can see here now people can see that this is certified because I put in this logo. They can see it's coming from me. I could put a description in it, and when people click on it, they can then get additional information around where they can find the support for this, and so on. So this is a way of certifying your apps, so to say. Then you also have the possibility to certify your reports. And a very simple way of doing this is the approach if you don't want to use apps, because in this apps approach, then all the reports as part of the app should of course be certified. But if you are not using apps and directly sharing your reports, there's an opportunity to show your users, a really easy opportunity to show your users that this is actually a report that is certified, because again, people can see what dataset it is when they just see the report. Yeah, now we have data again. And now if I want to very easily show people that this is a certified report, what I can do is putting in a background image on my pages in this report. And down here at the setting on this is the setting on the entire page here. I have this page background where I can go in and add an image. That's an easy way both to put in some layout in your report, but also to put in some visibility that this is actually certified. So I have an image here, putting it in, and for some funny reason it says 100% transparency at default, but now as you can see here I have an image here that is the right size of this. Maybe now I will go in just adjusting these visuals so that I'm not overlapping with this footer I put it in. And now this report says this is an IT managed report. So this is a very easy way, and I have seen examples of people having different layouts because they have a different levels. So also forcing the business users to also use this technique, but their reports they have another footer, so that they have this concept around bronze, silver, and gold reports, where the gold reports are the enterprise. So looking back at these three different ways of delivering Power BI, and they have gold is enterprise, then silver is IT managed, and then bronze is self-service. Yeah, so this is an easy way to brand or certify your reports. So yeah, let's wrap it all up here. IT managed distribution. So when IT come in and take over and self-service solution, who has then the control of the different distribution of the different elements? So yeah, the data sources is IT managed. We didn't change anything here. What we changed was that we took the data mashup and put it in, preferably a data warehouse, then using Tabular Editor as our tools of doing data modeling, then still business users using the favorite tool of choice, Power BI Desktop, to create the reports. And then also now, we actually also took over the report distribution with using the apps so that we could certify the datasets and also certify the apps. So in here, that's just a matter of setting up the right level of security on your workspaces, who can actually have the ability to promote a workspace to an app. And here IT can go in and take this responsibility, but you could also still have it as with the business side of it. So you can do something in some cases and other in other cases. And of course, then what we had also was report execution is business led. So we didn't change anything in data sources and in report executions. Yeah. And looking at it as an illustration, we have Power BI Desktop as our tool of choice to make reports. Then no, we don't have analysis services. We have actually just a premium workspace where we publish our models, both our self-service models and also as our enterprise models, using the XMLA endpoint, publishing it from Tabular Editor. And then of course we have the Power BI service with app workspaces and apps that we also looked at here, and then the viewers. So this is just split out, and here you can also see who has then the responsibilities of the different parts of here. So for instance, looking at publish app, that could be only IT having that capability, but publishing Power BI report, that's for the business users to the app workspace. So using the different concepts, we looked through these 5 steps. My name was Just Blindbæk as from Denmark. I'm a self-employed BI consultant. I love community, so I founded the Microsoft BI community in Denmark. I also founded the Power BI community in Denmark. And then I also, in the last couple of months, I started up the Power BI quiz show. Thank you very much for taking the time and watching this session. Bye bye.